The Tale of the Silk Thread from the Dog's Head. Once upon a time, in the Mino province, there was a district head who had two wives. He had them raise silkworms to produce a large amount of silk. However, due to some unforeseen circumstance, all the silkworms of the first wife perished, leaving her unable to produce any silk. The husband, disheartened by this, stopped providing support or assistance to her. Left alone with only two servants, the wife was deeply troubled and felt utterly helpless. In the absence of any other silkworms to raise, she found one solitary silkworm feeding on mulberry leaves. She decided to take care of it, hoping that it might grow large enough to be useful. However, despite her efforts, the silkworm only fed briefly and then stopped. Feeling pity for the silkworm, she continued to nurture it, even though she thought that raising it might ultimately be in vain. One day, as she tended to the silkworm, a white dog that lived in the house approached and, with a hesitation, devoured the silkworm. The woman was distraught, feeling that the loss of even one silkworm was a great misfortune. She cried, thinking that her fate was indeed cruel. Unexpectedly, as she wept, the dog began to exhibit a strange phenomenon. From its nose, two white threads emerged, each about an inch long. Curious, she pulled on the threads and they unwound into long, delicate strands that she wound onto a loom. She continued this process, winding the threads onto multiple looms until they were all full. The threads proved to be extraordinarily fine and abundant, eventually filling thousands of skeins of silk. The dog, having given its all, collapsed and died. The wife, moved by the dog's sacrifice, buried it near a mulberry tree in the garden. She struggled with how to use the silk, but when her husband returned and saw the remarkable quality of the silk, he was astonished and deeply impressed. The silk was pure white and finer than anything seen before. Realizing that the silk was a miraculous gift from the gods, the husband repented for his previous disregard and stayed with his wife, never again seeking another partner. The quality of the silk became renowned, and it was named Dog's Head Silk in honor of the miraculous event. The, the story of the dog's head silk spread far and wide, and it was said that this silk was used in the clothing of emperors. This tale has been passed down, often attributed to the rewards of past lives, bringing the couple together and granting them the silk. Thus, the story has been passed down. The Tale of the Silver and the Secluded House. Once upon a time, there was a man known as the Master of the Upper Silk Band, a title earned due to the length of his ceremonial sash. He had a small, humble dwelling located among the fields of the western 8 streets, close to the Kyogoku area. One evening, as he was traveling, he was caught in a sudden rainstorm. He dismounted his horse and sought refuge in this small house where he found an old woman living alone. To wait out the rain, he brought his horse inside and observed the interior of the house. In the corner, he noticed a large, flat stone resembling a game board. While sitting on this stone, he accidentally struck it with another stone, and upon inspecting the indentations, he realized that beneath the surface there was silver. The old woman, seeing his interest, explained, "This stone has been here for as long as I can remember. It was discovered when we were digging the field, and though we thought to remove it, our strength is insufficient, so we left it here." The master of the upper silk band, intrigued, thought, though the old woman might not know its value, this stone could be important. He said to her, "Even if you consider this stone useless, I believe it holds some significance. I will take it with me." The old woman, surprised, replied, "Oh, I never imagined that such a valuable item could be exchanged for a mere stone. Please, take it quickly." To ensure there was no wrongdoing, the master of the upper silk band removed his clothing and offered it to the old woman as compensation. She was bewildered and expressed her gratitude. He then transported the stone back to his home, and upon breaking it, he found that it was indeed full of precious silver, which could not be valued in terms of rice, silk, or other goods. The land around the western 4 streets and north of the Kogomon Gate, where no one lived and which seemed like a barren expanse, was bought cheaply by him. He thought it unfit for cultivation or construction, but bought it nonetheless, believing that if someone was willing to buy it, it must have some value. The master of the upper silk band then went to Setsu province with several boats, gathering supplies and inviting travelers to enjoy food and drink in exchange for harvesting reeds from the land. After a few days of gathering a substantial amount of reeds, he transported them to Kyoto by boat. On arrival, he used the reeds to lay a foundation and hired many laborers to build houses on the land, which eventually became a prosperous district. The southern town was purchased by a man named Daijin Minamoto no Sadamu, who transformed it into a thriving area known today as Nishi-no-miya. The master of the upper silk band also used the silver he had obtained to improve the old woman's house and make it prosperous. This tale, passed down through generations, is said to be the result of good fortune accumulated over previous lives. Thus, the tale of the guardian of Mutsu and the discovery of gold. Once upon a time, there was a man known as the governor of Mutsu and another man named. In their youth, the governor harbored a deep-seated envy, unbeknownst to, who was close to the governor. When the governor hosted, he did so with a lack of warmth and hospitality, which misinterpreted as displeasure. However, in the province of Mutsu, there was a need for a stable master, a position which was still unsettled in Kyoto. The governor, recognizing the opportunity, appointed Taraj to manage the stables, believing him to be the most capable candidate. Consequently, everyone regarded as the most esteemed individual, and many people flocked to him. When the governor returned to his province, he traveled with many attendants and did not speak to anyone besides Kai, who was expected to handle all matters. Upon reaching the border at Shirakawa, the governor instructed his attendants to present the necessary documents, and while waiting for the gate to open, he noticed that his request was not being processed as anticipated. The gatekeepers were calling out names and allowing people through, and when it came to and his retinue, they were delayed. Eventually, the governor, feeling slighted, thought to investigate further. He saw a small, circular object half buried in the sand at the bottom of a shallow river. Digging it out, he discovered it was a small bottle. Upon opening it, he found it filled with gold. Realizing the value of the gold, he felt a great sense of relief and renewed hope. He decided to keep the gold carefully hidden and used it to alleviate his plight. He approached his remaining attendants and expressed to the governess that the governor's presence was not meant to be humiliated and suggested that they seek refuge in Ichigo province, where he had long-standing connections. The remaining attendants, recognizing the dire situation, agreed to follow the governor. They continued their journey to Ichigo, where they eventually arrived at the governor's residence. The governor was greeted warmly and received the gold he had discovered. The governor, now relieved and content, was able to settle the matter of his position and returned to Kyoto, where his fortunes improved. The gold he found and the subsequent goodwill of those he encountered were seen as rewards for his patience and perseverance. He became a respected figure, eventually attaining a position of prominence in Kyoto. Thus, the story has been passed down. The Tale of the Iron Digger from Noto and the Gold Digger from Sado. Once upon a time, in the province of Noto, there were people who mined iron, a valuable resource, and they reported their findings to the local authorities. During the tenure of a certain governor, there were 6 individuals working under him who specialized in iron mining. One of the senior miners spoke about the richness of Sado Island, known for its abundant gold, as a place where gold blossoms. The governor, intrigued by this, decided to send someone to investigate. He summoned the senior miner and asked him to verify these claims. The miner confirmed that there was indeed gold on Sado Island and said, "You should go and see it for yourself." When the governor asked what was needed for the journey, the miner replied, "No need for many resources. Just a small boat and a little bit of provisions will suffice. It is best to see for yourself." Following these instructions, the governor prepared a boat and some provisions without informing anyone else, and sent the senior miner to Sado Island. After about 20 days to a month, the governor had almost forgotten about the mission when the miner suddenly appeared at the governor's location. The miner, wrapped in blackened cloth, placed a heavy bundle on the governor's sleeve. The governor, recognizing its weight and importance, took it inside to inspect. Shortly thereafter, the senior miner mysteriously disappeared. Despite sending people in all directions to search for him, his whereabouts remained unknown. The governor began to wonder if the disappearance was related to the gold or if there was some other reason. The bundle was reported to contain 1,000 ryo in gold. This discovery led the people of Noto to believe in the potential for gold mining in Sado Island. The story of the missing miner and the gold remained a tale of mystery and intrigue, suggesting that there might still be gold to be found on Sado Island. Thus, the story has been passed down.